Hello again, I'm Ana Couvinhas, and in this second part of the talk, I will continue to draw a parallel between human development field studies and those performed in the context of a software company. I will explain how you can use participatory research methods such as the field diaries to improve your user's experience continuously. In the first part of the talk, I presented the challenges of reaching research participants. Now, I will talk about the other two main challenges that we face in continuous research: persuading participants to continuously collaborate with you, and digesting the gathered information. Now that you have reached your target participants, how can you convince them to become long-term research folks? Again, it depends on the context, but first, let me explain the set of community-driven tools we use. In African remote communities, the field diaries consisted of handwritten daily journals. We provided participants with sheets of paper with a printed timetable, and we also lent digital photo cameras. Then, we asked participants to capture daily activities and happenings that were relevant to them. They would write diaries for a specific amount of time according to research goals. For example, when we worked with a maize milling franchise, we asked them to write a diary for 2 months in the lean season and another 2-month diary in the harvesting season. Some participants wrote along multiple years, which allowed us not only to better understand them and make project course corrections, but also to perform longitudinal studies on time allocation, behavior, and labor. Usually, we had an initial interview and basic training on how to collect data. Then, the participants wrote diaries and took pictures. Every time they concluded a diary, for example, after 2 months of writing during harvesting season, we collected them and interviewed each participant about what happened during those months. We also used that time to go through the photos to talk about their meaning. It's important to mention that participants kept the photo cameras during the project's entire length, not specific times along the year. Sometimes, research participants called us to inform about something special or unusual taking place in the community, which led to unexpected but very fruitful field visits and multiple diaries in the form of ordinary notebooks without being requested by us. These were evidence that research participants were highly motivated and felt part of our team. We couldn't pay research participants due to the company policy. So, how did we keep them motivated for such a long time? Surprisingly, during the interactions with participants, we found that photography, strategic thinking, and status were the main reasons that kept participants motivated. By being the only ones having a photo camera in the community, research participants tended to create their own photography businesses by shooting social and religious events. So they became the event photographers and were highly requested by locals. Moreover, we printed the photos that each participant selected during the debriefing sessions, and they felt appreciated by having photos, mostly of their family, in their homes. Another thing that also motivated them to keep the diaries was the fact that they had privileged access to research insights. So, they were aware of trends and small business opportunities with big potential within the community. For example, in the district where the plant nursery was built, our study revealed that one of the first durable goods that novice workers purchased were bicycles. However, there weren't yet spare parts available in the community. So, some research participants created their own business of bicycle spare parts and repairing services. Interestingly, research participants were very proud of wearing the t-shirts and caps with the project's brand, as they felt like they were the voice of the community. So, as project participants, they gained status in their community. In conclusion, understanding what kept research participants motivated was an iterative process full of surprises. It's important that you organically identify what motivates your users to keep their interest throughout the longitudinal research. As you can imagine, at the software development company, things are different. However, the sense of belonging and status also plays an integral part in keeping research participants motivated. A big part of our research participants are OutSystems community members. They use our product on a daily basis and are often available to share thoughts, ideas for improvement, and dry run new versions of the low-code platform. These participants feel motivated to collaborate with us, to have early access to new features, have the privilege of being the first one to explore those features, and say how things can be improved. Also, research participants have the sense that they contribute to the improvement of a tool that they use on their jobs. They perceive that by helping our research team, we are helping them in their job. It's a win-win situation. By being extremely active in the OutSystems community and participating in continuous research initiatives, participants have a privileged communication channel with OutSystems, which gives them status, similar to the research participants in Africa who gain social recognition by being considered the voice of their communities. Higher social recognition among the OutSystems community means higher forum rankings and more badges, which leads to more professional opportunities as potential customers reach out to OutSystems partners and developers through the OutSystems website. Being in a community where everyone is there to share their struggles, challenges, and doubts leads to a social dynamic in which developers are motivated to help each other and participate in research activities. However, to collect information from people who aren't using OutSystems, that is, outside of our community, we use traditional gratifications in return for their participation. These participatory long-term research methods generate large amounts of qualitative data, making it much more challenging to digest than short-term research. And often, UX researchers feel overwhelmed and struggle to make sense of all the gathered information. As you can imagine, the amount of collected information in African remote communities was huge. In most cases, the diaries were handwritten in the local dialects to allow diarists to express themselves easily. The good thing was that the written diaries were the core of our project, which allowed us to have dedicated staff to analyze and digitalize the information, the data entry folks. One vital aspect was hiring computer literate people who were originally from the targeted community. Often, they were university students living in towns, but were born and raised in these remote communities. Or, if there weren't any, we hired someone that at least was knowledgeable about the local dialects and culture. This allowed us to interpret the writings correctly, and most importantly, to interpret the correct meaning and nuances of what was written. An outsider wouldn't be able to do so. Whenever possible, when I was going to the studied community, I would bring along the data entry folks for them to get to know the research participants and therefore interpret the written information more accurately based on the context that they had about the diarists, their family, and their jobs. The data entry folks translated and entered in the system all the activities reported by the research participants and the amount of time spent in each activity. Also, they entered community stories and other relevant information. We often had meetings with the data entry folks to be aligned and validate if we were analyzing the translated information correctly. Basically, we converted the qualitative data into storytelling snippets and into measurable insights. For example, the amount of time a participant spent in a certain activity. One important element to consider is the type of calendar and the type of hours that the communities usually follow. For example, when we implemented the diaries in Ethiopia, somehow the dates were not matching and I was confused. When performing the initial interviews, I knew that the Ethiopian calendar had 13 months, but didn't realize that they are in a different year. The Ethiopian calendar is 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar used by most countries in the world. So, after deconstructing the diaries and obtaining the information snippets in English, we clustered the information according to research themes. Time spent in a particular activity, what the person eats, what the person buys, and so forth. This way, we were able to perform time allocation studies and understand how the communities and businesses change over time by comparing different periods or different communities. For example, by comparing the control community with the project community. By having a close relationship with participants, the research team played an important role in conflict resolution by understanding people's concerns and serving as intermediary between the stakeholder company and the residents. As an example, one of the plant nurseries was built near a dam, the only source of water for 2 rural villages. Therefore, even though it provided job opportunities, residents were afraid of being forbidden to access the dam. While analyzing the diaries, we noticed that the plant nursery was at risk of being burned or sabotaged by locals who thought they wouldn't do the river spiritual ritual because of the company's constructions near the dam. Fortunately, we were able to avoid this conflict. At the software development company, diaries are just one of the many techniques we use to collect information. We must digest it most quickly and efficiently to feed the team with insights, keeping the OutSystems agile environment's fast pace. Here, the diaries are essentially digital journals and screenshots in which research participants describe the experience that they have with the product by providing feedback on a few specific topics. For example, what I liked, what I didn't like, what was surprisingly easy or surprisingly hard, and other relevant topics that will allow teams to make informed decisions and identify unexpected issues. We compile the information from all research participants in a digital board, where snippets of information, thematic clusters, and thoughtful tags are the ways for successful information digestion. For each research participant, we create a card with a basic bio, and we attribute a participant code. This code allows for the participant information to be anonymized. With the simple bio cards, we have an ongoing list of participants' bio that keeps growing, and it's very quick and easy to update with new research participants or new diaries from existing participants. We deconstruct the information that participants provide into small chunks of qualitative data, and we create a card for each snippet. Each card is tagged with the participant's code, geographic location, professional role, background, software proficiency, and other relevant tags for our analysis. These tags allow us to easily retrieve, track, and sort information from a specific participant or characteristic, as the cards in the digital board are not grouped by participant. In conclusion, once we receive a new diary, we deconstruct it into small parts and distribute them on the board according to each piece of information's theme. The same happens with the screenshots that research participants provide. Then, every research sprint, we perform an affinity diagram analysis to update our teams with the latest insights. We also compare the research insights along time and in different scenarios. For example, we compare the experience of a novice OutSystems user with that of an expert user. And we analyze their software proficiency, agility, struggles, and so forth. This is our method to keep building our knowledge about the users in a fast and consistent way, but this is a process that we are still iterating. So, when drawing a parallel between the digestion of African diaries versus digital diaries, in both situations there is the deconstruction of the diaries into snippets of information, thematic clustering, and data comparison. Now, at OutSystems, we are moving towards migrating the information in the digital boards to a research repository to leverage a company-wide use of the gathered information during continuous research. However, I still find the visual board essential to cluster information efficiently. Now, let's recap. In remote communities, diaries allowed us to perform program course corrections, identify and avoid major conflicts between locals and the company, and spot further business opportunities. At OutSystems, the software company, diaries allow us to timely identify new user needs, ensure that we are always building the right thing, and move towards a continuous research vision. The three main challenges when doing continuous research are reaching research participants, persuading them to continuously collaborate, and digesting the gathered information. To reach research participants, you should have a local or a technical body, know the social norms in advance, approach the right person to get access to target users, know the basics of the local dialects or the technical jargon, and be conscious of the participants' time. To persuade participants to collaborate with you, promote the sense of belonging, enable ways for social recognition, and drive more business opportunities. And lastly, to digest the information, create participant bios that are anonymous and with tags, deconstruct info into snippets, and do thematic clustering. Then you can also compare data, for example, target versus control communities or novice versus expert users. In sum, continuous user research is much more challenging than short-term research, but it's definitely worth it. Continuous participatory research not only helps us to be more connected to users, but more importantly to me, I can perceive how the companies where I work change people's lives for the better. Thank you.